Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self-realization. Please subscribe our channel for the mystical meanings of the scriptures and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring the book Integral Yoga, authored by Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. Today we will be studying the topic of Jnana Yoga, which is the fourth state. So, karma, bhakti, dhyana, jnana. Karma, action, bhakti, devotion, dhyana, meditation, and jnana, yoga of wisdom. Developed in ancient India, this highest of philosophical systems is also known as Vedanta, literally meaning the end of the Vedas. The Vedas are the ancient revelations of the sages in India and literally means knowledge or wisdom. Vedanta, therefore, means end or final consummation of knowledge, end of Vedas. Vedanta philosophy, thus, is the culmination of all great spiritual teachings, for though it the aspiration for all mystical systems is fulfilled through following Jnana Yoga or Vedanta, because that philosophy is the underlying thread for everything. The project before a student of Jnana Yoga or Vedanta is to train his reason and then render it subtle. With this subtle reason, he is able to discover his true identity through the inquiry of who am I? How many think that they know who they are? With deep and sincere analysis, you realize you know very little about yourself. Chances are you know so little about the many problems that arise in the course of life, or how thoughts from nowhere can suddenly come forth and dominate your mind. Further, very few have any idea of what they actually can accomplish in life, or even what they want to accomplish. And even then, the greatest of human achievements have ultimately been just blasted away by time. Therefore, life in this world seems confusing, fruitless, and oftentimes without purpose. Yet, in the midst of all this, the question arises, who am I? What is my true identity? This is what is taken up in the study of Vedanta. The sheepish lion. A lion cub was orphaned at birth, found by a herd of sheep. He was brought up by them and cared for, but as the cub matured into a full grown lion, he still believed himself to be only a lamb and nothing else. Moving along with the sheep, the lion acted like a sheep. One time there was a wolf nearby. The lion started bleating, but bleating in a bad way. He didn't know how to bleat like the sheep. Nevertheless, he started bleating. There was another lion nearby, so surprised to see the strange lion bleating like a sheep and running away from the wolf. So this lion planned and schemed and ultimately cornered this sheepish lion. The lion, terribly frightened, began bleating and tried to run away, but he couldn't escape. The free lion then started telling him, "You are not a sheep, you are a lion. But you are, see, we look alike. Why are you running away? Roar like me." But the lion wouldn't believe him. He said, "You are a false teacher. I will not follow you. Go elsewhere. You are trying to kidnap an innocent lamb for your breakfast." The free lion then decided to take the lion to a place by the river where the water was placid. He then made the lion get near the stream and look into the water. When he did so, he saw that his face exactly resembled the face of the lion of the forest. He was surprised. Suddenly he discovered he could roar, and he roared and became joyous. He discovered his true identity. He was not a sheep after all, he was a lion. He discovered that identity and became free of that self created fear, cowardice, and illusion. This is the technique of Vedanta. It enables your mind to grasp the fact that the spirit in you is totally different from your mental concepts. What you think of yourself is not yourself. But living with sheep through centuries and centuries of evolution, your spirit behaves like a lamb, bleating over every little trouble that arises. Yet, by good fortune, there comes a wise guru, a lion, spiritual preceptor from the forest of mysticism and corners you, declaring you that you are not this body. At the beginning, it is puzzling to the mind, often even frightening. But you are led by yoga to purify the mind. Then the mind becomes a stream which, when calm and tranquil, reflects the way you truly are, essentially without complexes, without the concepts of the ego. You discover, I am not what I have thought myself to be. I am not a limited personality, but the eternal reality, the very heart of Christ and Buddha. I am one with the divine self. Vedanta or Jnana Yoga has presented four qualifications that should be understood and promoted in order to follow this noble path into the boundless expansion of consciousness. Of these qualifications, the first is known as discrimination, known as Vivek. Discrimination implies having a discriminating intellect or an intellect that can separate right from wrong, real from unreal. The second important qualification is called dispassion or vairagya. When the intellect has shown a certain concept to be wrong or false, you must have the inner will to turn away from it. A person who has developed internal strength in the form of dispassion recognizes that certain values in life are superficial, illusory, and false, and turns away from them. Dispassion or vairagya is opposed to attachment or raga. Attachment is an impression that is generated in the mind each time you experience pleasure and happiness in objects. The mind develops the desire to have that same experience again and again. These impressions create attachment, and dispassion is the process of negating attachments. Suppose a person goes to the ocean beach on a spring morning and feels so joyous being at a certain part of the beach. Ignorantly, he thinks that the particular portion of the beach has some special vibration. He later dreams about it and may even try to buy a property there, so it may always be there when he wants to feel that joy again. But it never happens that way. No doubt one morning he becomes joyous, but it didn't come from the ocean. It could not always give him joy. So, with attachment, the mind becomes limited and develops limited concepts. Dispassion prevents one from being duped by the objects and from becoming dependent upon them. The next qualification necessary in the practice of Vedanta is called the sixfold treasure, Shat Sampat. Sampat means treasure, Shat means six. So the sixfold treasure implies the six great qualities of serenity: mastery over the senses, renunciation of selfishness or selfish actions, endurance, faith, and tranquility of mind. Meaning Sham, Dam, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhan. That is the Hindi of these six qualities. The fourth qualification is known as aspiration or mumukshutva. Aspiration is spiritual hunger. When a person is properly integrated in life, he asks, what is the purpose of my existence? Who am I? Such questions become seriously nagging questions, and those who ask them turn out to be great philosophers. Buddha was such a personality. From childhood, he asked questions about why things decay, why was there death, and what is the purpose of life. And through his unceasing quest and intense aspiration, he attained nirvana or liberation. So, with this, we conclude the satsang for today, and we will continue this beautiful journey in tomorrow's satsang. Hari Om Tat Sat.